We'll see just how quickly we can build that up. We've seen both sides of sort of that extreme, right? We had the Liking game where he ended up with with a Helm of the Overlord by 13 minutes. We also saw a match where the Beastmaster was still working on the Dom Helm at 15, 16 minutes. So it goes in different directions. Undying, though, going to be able to pick up the Morphling here, so you always have that concern with the Morphling if you're sort of not managing your sort of stat switching, but four Zoomers don't really have anything along the lines of a Nyx Assassin, anybody that sneaky. Maybe the Pangolier could get in there with a Swashbuckle that the Morphling doesn't see, but it feels like this morph is maybe a little bit safer than we'd see in a lot of usual lineups.
And I can only imagine that Undying probably going to go for the Lion Lena band, something like that Z-Freak would be able to be very obnoxious with, as well as most likely shutting him out of a lane. But Morphling versus Sven, this is something that we saw on the previous patch where if you do play around with your HP a little bit too much, if you do get yourself caught off guard, or if you get yourself caught off guard, you will die very quickly if that Stormhammer actually connects onto you. It is going to be up to Tomato to have those fast reactions, able to actually play around this Sven. Of course, the matchup now, though, is if Morphling does have enough time, I believe in the game that we saw it, it was Team versus Undying, and Tomato was 1-4 in that game. But once you get past that 25-minute mark, once you get the Scotty, the BKB, the Satanic, then Sven, if you don't go in and kill your target immediately, then the Morphling keeps you there, and Sven can't beat Morphling at that stage of the game. You just simply have too much armor. You're actually tankier than the Sven at that point. It's just not something you can actually deal with. So that's where I think four Zoomers are going to need to play at a little bit of a faster pace here, especially when you have this Tidehunter Pango. You have to be very clean. Your spells need to get off, and they need to actually come with something. Because with Sven, although Sven is a very good tower hitter when he has God Strength, when he doesn't, you will see this team struggle to get buildings, and that's a hole that maybe Undying can play that split push game a little bit more effectively than you, where maybe they can play in those side lanes a little bit more. Four Zoomers are much more about that five-man team fight, five-man rotations, taking over a lot of your jungle, where Undying might want to skip around the map a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. And now, very much liking these bans out from four Zoomers, they're pretty much keying in on the Morphling being in Tomato's hands, and to be fair, we were doing the same. So now they focus in on Bryle's hero pool, trying to take away some of those more active rotating heroes, the Tiny and the Kunkka, both getting banned out there. So we've seen a lot of squads sort of look at those heroes, the South American squads in particular, but the NA boys looked for that high level of activity as well, especially with Beastmaster and Bane in the lineup. So I like what four Zoomers do there. There's still some options for Bryle if he wants to be that aggressive hero, but those are two of the tankier and more obvious choices that now get removed from the pool.
And Broodban, that
Whoa.
is a little bit out of left field here. Okay, they're going to go for this guy. This is another hero that got very slight changes, was already good before, but it's just even better now, as well as Z-Freak being one of the best players to honestly play this hero. Every single time he plays it, it just feels fantastic. Unfortunately, we're not seeing it paired with the Mu Legion Commander. Usually they try to get that hero player combo, but if you get ravaged, you are dying. Someone is dying in this ravage because the flare is going to get dropped on him, the chain frost is going to get dropped on him. For Zoomers, they've got a lot of burst damage. And in dying, I was going to mention a hero like maybe the Lena coming in for Bryle, but at this point, it's a little bit risky. Okay, Razor.
Not a bad choice given the options on the four Zoomer side. Core-wise, the Pangolier does have a little bit of mobility, but the Sven and the Tidehunter not exactly going to be just jumping out of that static link anytime soon. So Bryle, oh, actually not Bryle, it'll be Tomato on the Razor instead. So that does shake things up just that little bit more compared to what we had initially been thinking.
Yeah, and it makes sense on paper. I don't hate it necessarily, but now you are kind of giving away your mid matchup where Bryle, it should be relatively 50-50, but we've seen Gunnar with this new Pango really get out in front of a lot of their enemy mid laners, as well as Gunnar is a rotating mid. Bryle's a farming mid. You're going to see him get a lot more active on the map, where I am a little bit scared for this Razor. I feel like it's very easy for this Pango to come to his lane and find the kill on him. Tomato just needs to play some good Dota in that bottom lane. You have the static link. You're playing Razor versus a melee hero. You can get that big damage steal off. Tide, one of the few characters that doesn't really care about that, though. You always have that anchor smash available to you at those early levels as well. There's going to be a lot of harass coming out to Tomato, so I understand why they decided to go for this hero pick, but now that you have this Razor, I really am curious what Tomato's going to go for. I don't think you can go for that refresher build that we typically see Razors go for. They go treads, BKB refresher, and then you get active, you have the double static storm, and then you feel broken. It feels like you melt through everyone. Where if he goes for that build, I'm afraid about his armor. I'm afraid about the burst because for Zoomers, if they catch you off guard with those initiations, they're going to kill you, move on to the next target. And I highlighted before early in the draft, but Tidehunter is one of those heroes where unless Moon has really good positioning, you are going to get clipped in those ravages. You are going to be caught near your teammates just because you want good positioning. You want to be close to them in case they get in trouble. But that's where for Zoomers, I think they really have a solid draft.
Yeah, it feels like they put something together here that really gives them options at all points in the game. They can sort of harass early on in the laning stage. They've got Envy, obviously, on a Sven to sort of farm them into the mid and late game, and they've got Gunnar on the Pangolier, someone that can definitely sort of make those moves early and try to get aggressive. So it's always going to come down to the execution. That's sort of the situation in every single game, but feels like Zoomers have put themselves really in the, well, I'm going to say the best position they probably could have given the circumstances. So we'll see what the execution looks like for them as we do get game one underway. Our upper bracket finals getting started. As a reminder, the winner of this series will be locking down that first spot in the grand final tomorrow. So this matchup really is an opportunity for both of these teams, not just to sort of get to that final step, but maybe some bragging rights here against some of their more prominent regional rivals. Obviously, the likes of EG and Quincy are not really hanging around at the moment, but this is really going to be your best shot to prove that you're in that top three in NA. So we'll have to wait and see how this one goes. This was an interesting maneuver all the way across the map, though, from Zoomers. Unfortunately for them, it doesn't really turn into much of anything, but I believe, yeah, Z-Freak keeps on going. He'll get the ward down at least there, so some vision over the lane. He's got vision over multiple camps here if Undying are trying to stack it up. So I like to play early, trying to get that vision down. Try and prevent Undying from setting up their carry for anything extra outside of the lane itself.
And that's where, if there is one thing to be said about both these teams, Zoomers have crafted a lineup that is going to feel very easy to execute. They feel a little bit more balanced, I think, this time around, where Undying, they need to work for it. They need to shore up a lot of their issues in those lanes, in those item timings, where Zoomers, they're definitely going to make you work for those. They definitely are going to have to wait a little bit longer on Undying side, where Zoomers, if they can keep the ball rolling, I can definitely see them taking a game off of Undying, even though, like you said, Undying has been that top 3 team for such a long time. They can't really afford to falter here, especially with TI on the horizon, but you really have to be cautious. You really have to respect your teammates, or rather your opponents here.
Yeah, this is not the time to sort of underestimate what the opposing side could do. Obviously, no elimination in this series in particular, but you would like to punch your ticket to that grand final right away, as we do see Tomato trying to get a little bit aggressive with the static link, but as you said in the draft, ET, Moo is on a hero here in the Tide who really does not have to care too much about that. He doesn't actually have a point in the Anchor Smash just yet, but he's going to be beefy enough to withstand the damage, and he doesn't necessarily have to rely on his own right-click power to find too many last hits and try to control up this lane. So, good on Tomato. Try and get that damage in, just kind of for your own sake at this point, and well, maybe in the future, if Z-Freak's a little bit too far forward, you get the static link onto Moo, you get Dubu there for the lockdown, then you can turn onto the Skywrath and make something happen, but that is later on down the line when Dubu and Tomato are actually past level 1.
And that's where you saw there for the first static link, you simply got gushed, you got a bunch of Skywrath mage spells dumped on top of you, and that's where it is going to be up to Dubu mechanically to be the hero that I know that Bane can be, where you are doing that 1v2 style, where you do really get ahead of these trades, especially when you hit level 3 with that second point in Brain Sap. Oh, and they're going on Z-Freak.
There's the play. Oh, wait.
A little bit messy.
Yeah, they could still get it, though. There it is. Okay. Execution. Maybe not the cleanest in the world, but it's not about how clean you look, it's about getting the kill. First blood does go their way. Dubu's the one to pick it up, so he is going to get himself a nice little bit of extra gold, although he does have to wait for his courier to actually respawn. But good play from Undying. I mean, we described that exact scenario playing out. I thought they were going to have to wait a little while longer, but that's the threat that this duo can put together. You'd think Z-Freak would be the one applying most of the pressure, and that assumption is technically true. He is still hitting him up with the Arcane Bolt, but you are not a very tanky hero on the Skywrath, and Moo is not going to be able to save you this early.
And that's where, even though you do have a slightly stronger early game damage-wise, you have to be cautious. This Bane is Bane, and you're giving him endless stick charges with the Skywrath Mage, and Zefreak has 0 armor. You're still the 0 armor boy that's Skywrath. We all know him. We all love him. But as long as they can pull this wave back, as long as Moo can get his level 6, that's where we always see this Tidehunter play out, where you are biding your time just a little bit, and you already see the denies heavily go in Tomato's favor, but you got last pick Razor. There's not much you could do. There's no way for them to shift around their lanes to actually get them in a situation that they would have been happy with. So it's really just Moo biting the bullet. You even see Z-Freak leaving to stack for him because they know this lane is not the be-all, end-all of their game.
Yeah, Z-Freak did get the double stack off. Now he's looking for some courier snipes. He could actually get both of them. The Banes will fall first.
Yep.
Razor dying as well.
Huge couriers.
Oh man, look at all the stuff on that. Full wand. Tomato's going to lose his boots. So Z-Freak, yeah, maybe he goes down early, but he still knows how to make an impact. Now he returns to the lane as well. Dubu is trying to be as annoying as possible, but with the Skywrath's presence, I'm not really sure how much they can do here. Tomato, though, does go in for another static link, so at least they are keeping Moo sort of on the back foot, so to speak, but that play from Z-Freak really does quite a bit to sort of even things out. Now he's going for that double stack again, so he knows really exactly what he needs to be doing here, but over in the river, good play from Dubu, snagging away a water rune. So Undying will get both of those, but now Dubu's got to be a little bit careful. He's going to get slowed up here by that shot. Gunner, I mean, does he have the swashbuckle? He does, and it's not quite enough damage. The stick and, I believe, a fairy fire, both coming out there for the Bane as he will stay alive.
Yeah, and it feels so clean. Rotates mid, sleeps the Pango, steals the water room, gets away with murder. He is going to go back to base now. He is forced away, but you leave at pretty much the perfect time. You give Tomato that soul XP, gets the second point in that static link, and that's something you need to be a little bit cautious of on the Skywrath Mage, where Bane is one of those heroes, as soon as you leave the lane versus it, you are going to come back to a much stronger Bane. It's a hero that really continues to get speed up until level 5. It just feels like the trades get more and more difficult until you actually can't lane versus it anymore. And you're going to see quite the care package being brought over to Tomato now. I think he's got a full treads. This lane is only going to get worse for Moo, and it's where Z-Freak still has to be very cautious with his positioning. He's the hero that they're always going to try and make those kill attempts on. But I think it's going to stabilize now, especially with those stacks coming forward.
Yeah, that should be enough to get the Tidehunter back into it. Meanwhile, down bot, Envy going it alone for a little bit here. We see that Lich be getting sort of pushed out of the lane, so Husky's going to take a trip back to his fountain. But the thing is, Saberlight and Moon, they can't really do a whole lot about this right now. They're trying to keep the Sven locked down, but they can't really afford to get too aggressive in this situation. There's not enough mana for the telekinesis, although if Moon really wanted to, he's got the stick charges and the mango, but I don't think you have the damage to do that right now. So you see both of them kind of backing off, especially with Husky now returning to that lane.
Yeah, and that's where, unfortunately, Lich, as good as he is, without a slightly stronger partner, you don't have that Troll Warlord, you don't have that Ursa, you're not going to see many kill attempts, especially with a player like Envy. He's been using a lot of the Storm Hammers to secure those last hits. He really hasn't been skipping a beat in that regard, but you're not going to see a kill lane, something that I thought maybe we would see them try to punish Saberlight a little bit more, but they really have focused on drawing this bottom lane as much as possible to really set Envy on the right foot going into this early mid game.
And that does come with a bit of a caveat, though, because Saberlight, you take a look at his levels, 5 and about a quarter, so sure, Envy's farming, but you are going to have to deal with Saberlight potentially making those rotations once he hits level 6. So that's a trade-off that I assume for Zoomers sort of see coming and are going to be ready for, and in their defense, outside of the supports, their core heroes are going to be mostly safe against that roar play. You're not going on to Moo anytime soon. Maybe you could hit up Gunner if you rotated in, but you see Gunner, he's already made his way up top, so it would have to be a pretty long rotation from that Undying side to really go in after him.
Yeah, and it's a rotation they had to make. You know that now the Razor has just a little bit too much in the terms of levels. You rotate Moo mid to now finish off his level 6. And this is a lane where if it was going to be Razor versus Pango mid, it would have been a struggle, especially with the build that you have to go for on Gunner. You don't have those low levels, or rather those high levels in Swash to lower that CD, so everything is in the shield crash. It is a much stronger build, especially now that the slow scales so heavily. It's a 40% slow. It's kind of ridiculous. But then bottom lane, you give up Husky. You can't play everywhere.
Just trying to soak up some experience, but once they realize Envy's gone, as Dubu was able to get that vision, and that duo in the offlane, they just push forward. 2v1 against a Lich, we can sort of make that play happen. And Undying do get it, and now you've got Dubu sort of floating around here in the south side jungle, getting down some nice vision, really just kind of playing in a position where he could really go anywhere, but we do see him now TPing top. This is going to be the next concern for Dubu. His level is, well, not below Z-Freak, but he's still only at level 4. You would really like to get that Fiend's Grip up and running. So Dubu makes his way top. Brow's going to TP in as well. They're just looking to set up a relatively safe lane here, and neither Gunnar nor Z-Freak really wants this fight right now. Z-Freak especially. We were talking about the Bane maybe being short on levels. Z-Freak's level 3.
Yeah, he really has been the sacrificer for his team, especially all of those stacks getting picked up by Eternal Envy, not even walking over to sap any of that XP, and with Mu taking over mid, there really isn't anywhere for this Skywrath Mage to play. He's being very reliant on really both Gunnar and Mu to get these early game plays started. And that's where Undying, they definitely seem a little bit hesitant staying in this top lane. You see Tomato floating around just a little bit, as well as Moon Meander rotating mid to get his level 6 in a very expedient fashion. But you take a look at the bottom side of the map, and Saberlight is doing what 4 heroes are accomplishing top, and that's where Undying will feel like they can be a little bit more independent than Forsumers, and that's what I was slightly worried about, because when you see these teams that are very dependent on each other, especially to make these plays, they are going to fall behind in farm very slightly. They are going to lose a lot of speed net worth wise, and that's where you give a lot of time over to a hero like Beastmaster, where he completely encapsulates a lane and then makes it so that nobody ever wants to go there. You can't send the Lich bottom, you can't send the Skywrath Mage bottom. You're always going to take at least one team fighter to deal with that hero.
So Undying really just trying to force their opponents into a bad situation. The good news for Zoomers, though, is that Envy is farming relatively well. Top of the net worth right now, cleared through those stacks as we were mentioning a moment ago, but now we see the benefit of Dubu's previous play there. Drop down that Sentry Ward, blocks the camp, and Envy doesn't really have anywhere to go just yet, so...
He's gonna know in a sec.
Oh, yeah, there you go. And he did have a Sentry brought out to him via Husky, so could have gone for the D ward there. He actually won't do it, but he's got to know.
And it's really good warding coming in from Undying. All too many times you see, oh, we're playing versus a hero like Sven, like the Medusa. Let's block his entire jungle. But that's never a good play, because you look at all the camps that Saberlight has been able to take away from this Sven. Really, Envy has just farmed the triangle. He's farmed the 3 creep camps in the past minute. And that's an opportunity that he really doesn't like, as well as finally blocking, or rather, counter-blocking out his Ancients. So he's going to have that available to him again, but take a look at the rotation. Dubu. They're trying.
They've got the Fiend's Grip down onto Envy. Tomato's going in with that static link. They need a little bit more damage. That's a nice brain sap from Dubu. That really just sets it up perfectly. Tomato gets in with the last little bit of damage they needed, and Envy will be taken down. Meanwhile, Rubik stole Shield Crash. Okay. Not sure if he's ever going to be close enough to really hit it onto multiple heroes, but extra damage. Damage reduction as well. Not bad for the Moon Meander Rubik. And Undying, I mean, that's 3 straight kills here. It hasn't really come at a furious pace, but every time there has been a skirmish, Undying seemed to be getting the better of it.
Yeah, and Shield Crash, all that matters is that it's level 4. You see him farming. Actually, a little bit crazy what he's doing mid. See if he gets rolled on in a sec here. He's got lift, but yeah. Okay.
Oh,
he actually scares him.
It. Wow. Tower was there. I think they may have spotted... Yeah, they did spot Dubu coming in as well with that Ops Ward, so maybe they get Moon Meander in time, but if they don't, you're under tower with a Bane who doesn't have the Fiend's Grip, but the Nightmare could sort of put you in a rough spot, so better to play it safe in that scenario, especially with Gunnar in the position he's in. If he takes a death now, could be nasty for him. And speaking of nasty, Z-Freak getting hit up. Saberlight hit him with the Roar, but again, tower sort of acting as a deterrent. Z-Freak got in with the slow. It's only level 1 on that concussive, but it's still enough to make Saberlight sort of think twice about that. And to be honest, much like the last play we saw mid, it's just better for Saberlight to back off. He has this entire Southside jungle basically under his control, so don't get greedy. Fall back, farm up, keep building, and that Helm of the Overlord is being approached rather rapidly, all things considered. You see Saberlight above both Gunnar and Moon net worth-wise.
And finally, we're seeing that smoke play. Unfortunately, they don't really have that blanket initiator to play around. They're going to play very heavily on their vision here. Oh, Dubu spoiling the play like usual, but they look for Moon.
They do jump him. Moon is going to try to get away using the shield crash, using the telekinesis as well, and now here comes the reinforcements. Tomato is in, Dubu's here as well. The silence is going to shut him down momentarily, though, so no Fiend's Grip just yet, and by the time the silence wears off, 4 Zoomers are already making their retreat, but looking at that play, 4 Zoomers, they're the ones who went for the 3-man smoke. They bring about 4 heroes there in total, and yeah, now Envy's got to be careful. Dubu is so damn fast trying to catch up to him. Can he get himself away? Honestly, he's got the pig pole, so if it really comes down to it, could make his escape that way, but it looks like he's just going to go for the straight TP. But
Tomato.
the heals! Tomato gets the vision. The pig pole does come down now, but by this point it's too late. Fiend's Grip is in there, and Undying will be able to find it. Envy was so close to getting out.
That is just an insane use from Tomato, actually. It feels like they knew where the Sven was going to be, but without the scan either, that's just super sick. As well as that's the second time you've lost your Sven in the top lanes, a place where it feels like Envy has to farm, and now bottom.
Gunner. There's the roar. Moon's coming in. Telekinesis is back up.
Damage, though.
They start with a shield crash as well, but yeah, they don't have the further lockdown. They really did need the telekinesis out there to prevent Gunner from getting off that rolling thunder, so Gunner's going to be able to get himself away, but honestly, if you're Undying, you still found that kill onto the Sven. That is the all-important one. Gunner's at least able to get that Dom Helm creep afterwards for about 100 gold, but you see that net worth. It's starting to tick up bit by bit. 2k net worth lead for Undying as Moo. That is a very aggressive move into the middle lane, but he can take it. He's got a Dom Helm of his own, so this Wild Wing Ripper is sort of acting as his wingman. Gunner now comes in as well as Bryle. He's going to get hit up by the Sinister Gaze. He already started shifting towards strength, though, so they're not going to be able to bring him down all that quickly, but they do eventually get him. And now Dubu may be in trouble as well, but Tomato, he's going to rotate in. Moonmeander's coming as well. They want the kill onto Gunner first. They can't quite catch up to him, though. And they're not really going to be able to get anyone. The only target that they had left was Moo, and that Tidehunter's a bit too tanky. So that play looked a little weird at first, but Moo had the confidence, and he a little bit baits Bryle in. Your Morphling thought he was safe. Instead, he just gets sort of jumped in on. The Ravage does have to be deployed, but they come away with their first kill of the game.
And that's where I was going to mention that Undying are doing exactly what they need to, playing versus this Pango, forcing out that Rolling Thunder defensively, making it feel like it's awkward for 4 Zoomers to start a fight. And then, really, Bryle gives them a freebie there. He gives them the opportunity they were waiting for. They were looking for that Ravage opportunity for such a long time. It's really strange coming from Bryle as well, because you look at his farm, he's actually farming fantastically on this Morphling, so they get their opportunity after quite a little bit of time, and if he dies again here mid...
The jump, they're going on to Envy, though.
Yeah.
West side jungle, they're going to try and lock him down. The Fiend's Grip now comes out. Very nicely timed there from those two heroes, making sure Envy doesn't have a chance to get out. He just has to try and fight his way through this. He's not going to be able to make it. Gunner, though, is rolling in with the Rolling Thunder. That's going to be enough to take down Dubu, but the rest of the lineup is really getting bounced around here. Moo does not have that ult for really another minute, and Gunner's out of time on that Rolling Thunder, but they're trying to get onto Tomato. They whittled him away bit by bit. Gunner finishes off for the double kill, and now Bane's not there for the lockdown, Tomato's not there for the damage, so really Undying are actually the ones who are getting turned around, as Saberlight's just going to get locked up. He has nowhere left to go, as he will be finished off. While he dies, though, Bryle takes the opportunity to leave, but that is 3 kills going 4 Zoomers' way, all 3 of them into the hands of Gunner on the Pango, and I mean, you get Envy, but the cost is far higher than I think they anticipated.
And they went for the play that's worked several times at this point, and while you do get Envy at the end of the day, you do lose absolutely everyone. They run out of damage with this Pango that has the Vanguard. What a kill from Moon. Nice. So cheeky, but
he may end up going down for it. Yeah. Moo, Gunner, and Z-Freak are pushing in. The Nightmare's going to be used defensively. Not enough, but now Tomato, and he's back in. Static Link goes down. Bryle's there for the body blocks. Moo really can't go anywhere. Still no Ravage for 10, so he will be taken down, and now Gunner got to find a way out of this one. He does have that TP, so if he can find a safe spot, he should be able to get away. And they're actually guessing a little bit too far to the north, so Gunner is going to be able to get out, but that is honestly a pretty solid response from Undying. You get Moon Meander in there. He does have to sacrifice himself, but a 2-for-1 trade is going to work towards evening up the losses from that last fight.
And that's where, as soon as Moo's alive, we will see 4 Zoomers most likely immediately run at Undying again. This is the stage of the game where we're going to see both these teams play the, I'm going to defend my mid tower, you're going to push my mid tower, oh, we killed you, so now we're going to push your mid tower. It's just the game that this sort of falls apart at. Because 4 Zoomers, they need to use their cooldowns. They've hit this very strong timing where it does feel like they're very, very tanky. And you see with the smoke up, they want to find a kill into this push. They know that if they get anyone, they're going to make that team fight just a little bit harder for Undying. And that's something they can definitely guarantee because Saberlight, he wants to go bottom time and time again, and Moon is exactly what they want to find. This is perfect.
Quick and easy kill in between the towers. Tier 1's not going to provide enough help there, so big kill for 4 Zoomers. They'll get the tower to follow it up, and they're in a much better spot now. A lot of that north side jungle now open with the Tier 1s dead, both top and mid. However, on the other side, this is cause for concern for the likes of Z-Freak and Husky. That E-Blade was finished up by the Morphling, so he is going to be able to come in with an insane amount of burst damage if he hits you with that shotgun combo, and the cores may be okay, but as I was saying, if you're Husky or Z-Freak and that combo hits onto you, you may very well be dead just immediately at the start of that fight. So the positioning going to become all important for those 4 Zoomers heroes. If they can keep themselves safe, avoid that burst potential, they're going to be in a much better spot, but you know Bryle is going to be looking for those quick pickoffs.
And that's where Undying are definitely taking a step back, saying we do need to itemize for some of that burst damage. The Sven has gotten away from us a little bit. You look at the other cores on 4 Zoomers, I think a few other heroes have gotten away from their damage a little bit as well. And unfortunately for really both teams, maybe more unfavorable for Undying side, we're going to see those Helm of the Overlords come out at about the same time. And that's the interesting thing about HOD versus HOD meta. It's if you can't get the creep, then I'm going to seal the creep. If you're going to start running something at me, we saw in that previous fight, Saberlight's Centaur running in at the entire 4 Zoomer squad, but Mu very simply takes it over. I'm the dominator now. And this is where this would be a really huge play. If they can find Saberlight, that's the perfect target.
There's no blink on Mu, but he didn't need it. Just goes in for the Ravage. Only hits onto Saberlight, but, well, honestly, this is still a big kill if they can find it. Yeah, Saberlight will go down. Tomato is going to try and deal with Husky on the high ground, but the Chain Frost does still come out. Doesn't bounce fantastically, though, but at this point, I don't really know if Undying can do this. Bryle is just dropping in terms of that HP. He's trying to shift over towards Strength, and for now, he is actually surviving. Well, Tomato, he just 1v1's Envy. Hits him up with a Static Link, jumps in for the kill, and yeah, they are going to lose Dubu on the backside, but that trade actually comes out much better than it looked at first. 2 for 2. But Envy really was the prize there, especially with Tomato getting the credit for that kill and getting most of the gold.
Oh, and I think Moon's out top as well. Nice. But it is a little bit rough for 4 Zoomers there. I think Envy, if he commits on anyone else except for the Razor, he didn't know about the BKB on Tomato, so he very simply BKB'd off that Store Hammer. And once you commit that stun, you need to kill that target or you need to run away, and he just got kited a little bit too far from his team. As well as Husky taking a little bit of a crazy route going away from his teammates. I think if they all filtered up through that low ground up to the high ground, they wouldn't have had the opportunity to pick him off as early. Maybe you would have seen a few more witch spells get cast. But now for Zoomers, they have to wait a little bit. Even though they're making a little bit of a Q play here, they don't have spells.
Bean's Grip comes in, Static Link's there as well. Envy's dropping. Can they keep him alive? He needs to be able to get away. The axes are coming through. Envy's still not dead, though. He is trying to fall back with the Plasma Field to bring him down. Tomato gets the kill. Moon does get sacrificed in exchange, but at this point, 4 Zoomers, they're just getting run down, but Gunner trying to join the fight, looking to clean up on the back line. He does get Saberlight. The problem is, he's lost too many of his teammates. Both of the supports end up going down there, and now you've got Gunner and Moo kind of stuck in the middle. They are going to be able to bring down Dubu, but they've got to be careful of these heroes coming up from behind. Bryle does not have a crazy amount of mana, but he could still do a lot of damage with that E-Blade back up, but they really would want to focus Gunner, and that's exactly what Tomato's doing, trying to get in. The Swashbuckle, though, breaking that Static Link, and now this fight's just looking kind of awkward. I really don't think anyone wants to be here anymore, as Bryle is going to be backing away. Gunner does still have the Swashbuckle, though, but yeah, that's a bit too far forward. So it will finally break up. 3 heroes lost on both sides.
Yep, and we saw in that fight, Mu stole the Thunderhide, and then it gets a little bit sketchier to stick around. It just does that little bit more damage, and that's where we still need to see a few more items coming out from this Morphling. He still needs to play very scared. Fortunately for him, he was able to catch Z-Freak really without getting any of his spells off. He didn't have any control to pair with it, so he actually held more or less everything, even though he finally has that Atos built up. So we do have all the cooldowns now being reset on the 4 Zoomer side. I can only imagine that we are going to see them try and run it down, but Envy needs to be a little bit more specific with his jumps because he really is getting punished time and time again, and they're going to try to maybe make this forcing play with the pit. I like it. You're forcing your opponents to come. You got Gush, so it is going to be farmed up pretty quickly here. And Undying? Okay, they do know about it.
Can they get here in time? Their lineup's a little too spread out across the map right now, so I'm not really sure they're going to be able to make it, and The four Zoomers were trying to force the objective. If nobody comes, then they are more than happy just taking Roche for free.
And I'll be honest, I don't think Undying care too much. There isn't a truly fantastic Aegis carrier on the four Zoomers side. Of course, Envy takes it, and he found Saberlight, though. That's huge.
At least Saberlight got the tower, and at this point, he might actually be able to make it out. Good roar onto Envy, and he's going to try and make a break for it. Z-Freak, though, stops to deal with the boar first. The slow from the boar was really going to prevent him from chasing either way, but that's a big one for Saberlight. Sure, it costs you your ult, but relatively low cooldown. You got the tower, and you got away. You force out a couple of TPs from core heroes on the four Zoomers side. So, on the one hand, four Zoomers did just take Roshan, but at least Undying are able to sort of force that movement out, so four Zoomers can't immediately take the team fight that they might have wanted with that second life up.
And that's where we might see with this Aegis, and we'll see with a lot of these first Roshans that teams will be taking. It's a farming Aegis. This is one where if they can get a few tier 2 towers, that's going to be great, but this is more so to prevent Undying to go to your triangle. This is the, I'm going to farm my triangle, come and kill me, I'm the Aegis carrier, my team's all going to TP in, and then we're going to kill you. So Undying are never really going to make that breach anymore. I like what they're doing. They're immediately putting pressure on this bottom tower. They're saying, we're a little bit ahead on the push war, we can definitely get some damage on this tier 3, and they might even force out Glyph, depending on four Zoomers' reaction here. Yeah, they just immediately glyph it up. Glyph for Glyph.
Do Undying stay, though? That's the question. If they don't see any TPs, I don't think there's much of a reason to back off, and nobody's in just yet.
Damage.
Now the TPs are coming. Moo is here. They're bringing Envy over as well, but by the time Envy's into the fight, Undying are already backing away. Saberlight, though, well, does get hit up a little bit. He'll turn around for the roar, just as we saw the last time, too, and even the force staff from Moon. Good play there, just making sure. Don't give any... Uh-oh.
Oh, the bash.
Gunner with that bash connecting, so... That was a nice play from Moon Meander. Unfortunately, it's not going to be enough as Saberlight does go down, but that's not too bad, especially considering Tier 3 Tower, it lost over half of its HP, so you have to respect that pushing power from the opposing side. Four Zoomers at least make the rotations in for the kill, but if they're not careful, if they're not pushing that bottom lane out a bit more consistently, a play like that one could come really pretty rapidly against them.
And that's where we do see four Zoomers now fixing their lanes, being very aggressive, and as well as knowing that the glyph is committed, Envy immediately walks past this tier 1 bottom. Never go for this tier 1 tower. You're just giving more time to your opponents. So now this tier 2 is under a very serious threat, and that's where you see Undying getting a little bit more aggressive with their positioning. They know that now's the time where they actually do have to respond to four Zoomers, but this team fight is a little bit scary, especially they're waiting for a few more item timings. You're about 300 away from the refresher on the Razor, as well as, I think, Brown just needing to make the trip towards the secret shop, and then he has that Manta style, which he doesn't need to worry as much about the Skyreth Mage, but Moo is finally able to get his Blink Dagger, something that really puts this hero on a completely different level, especially when Moo gets it.
They just spotted Envy. They're going to get through the first life, I believe, as the Stolen Stormhammer comes in, so Envy should be going down here. Don't really know if they can take him again at this point. Moo is here and the Ravage is available, so it's going to be complicated, but honestly, that's Aegis taken for very little. I mean, the Roar gets deployed, but as we mentioned the last time, it's a relatively short cooldown. Outside of that, you used a Stolen Stormhammer to keep him locked in place, and all the while, Tomato was farming elsewhere on the map, so he is getting closer, as you mentioned, to that refresher. I think he just... Did he just finish it? Yes, he did. So, he's got that double storm.
Yeah, and that's where I am a little bit concerned now. I had that fear where four Zoomers were able to hit those very similar timings. I think Moon does just get cleaned up. He gets mopped up. But if this Razor is able to finish off this Shiva's Guard, everything I said about this Fen matchup doesn't matter. We're not seeing that early Daedalus coming out from Eternal Envy either.
Oh god, move,
so
Ravage in.
Not going to need to be worried. Yeah, Ryle.
He was on max Agi. Didn't see it coming, didn't get the chance to pop the Manta, didn't switch over in time, so big kill for four Zoomers. They're going to be able to lock down Saberlight as well. Unfortunately, they lost Envy. Tomato was able to take him down with the help of Dubu, so that's going to take the wind out of their sails a little bit here. I think maybe they could still pursue a tier 2 tower, but right now Gunner, he wants in for the fight, trying to catch up to Tomato, but that's really not a play he was going to be able to make. And now if you're four Zoomers, you may have kind of missed your opening. Moo is still here to try and hit up that tier 2, but I'm not really sure if they're going to be able to take it down before some of those heroes start getting back up. The Rubik's already in, and as we mentioned earlier, Tomato could pop that Refresher Orb and go in again, so four Zoomers are going to group up, though. They're not willing to give up on this, and I believe now the tower should be theirs with everyone hitting it up.
And fortunately, it just takes a little bit too much time, I think. Even though this bot lane isn't under too much pressure, you see Husky pinging it for just a little bit. Eternal Envy was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. They also have a fantastic ward that I am assuming scouted out that there was literally no one behind them, as well as having that really big committal in the mid lane, where it was exactly as I said. Moo plays so well with this Blink Dagger. He's always able to catch heroes off. It's like a burrow strike. It feels that instant with his positioning. He always gets these crazy jumps where there's no time to react. If he gets that morph off, I think that play gets a lot more complicated, but it just feels free at that point. As well as Moon is just too close. He has to be near his teammates. He has the Force Staff. He's going to want to try and save them in those instances, but it still feels like Moo is just so good at Dota. Unfortunately, you do have to give up a lot of that time to now take a tier 2 that you've rightfully earned from your play mid, but it takes just so long to take. When only Pango and Tidehunter are alive, you really need to win these fights with the Sven surviving. And here we go, smoke on smoke. I think they have a general idea here. No Ravage, though.
Sending the illusion forward. Moo popped. Oh, that's so perfect. Saberlight is standing just close enough where Moo popped, so he thinks the illusion is a real hero. And now the jig is up, but for Zoomers, they're still trying for this. Moon, that's very aggressive. He actually ended up getting his teammate stunned there, but neither one of them are really going to be taken down. And now Gunnar, that's a bit too far forward. The Roar is actually going to lock him down, and he's pretty much isolated. Now the Fiend's Grip comes in, but Moo jumping forward. He doesn't have the Ravage for 5, though. He's got to wait a little while longer, but while he waits, Gunnar is dead. Tomato's just going to push his way forward. Husky's dead as well. Moo is in some serious trouble here. He does have the mana for the Ravage now. He will deploy, connecting onto pretty much everybody as they've taken out Tomato. They need to be able to get Brile here as well, but the Morphling is doing a good job of getting onto the back line. He and Moon Meander will bring down Z-Freak, and now Envy and Moo really just have to try and hold the line by themselves, but they are surrounded on pretty much all sides. Dubu, though, does get locked down by the Sinister Gaze, as Husky did buy back into the fight, but at this point, this is just getting so broken up. Husky may be sacrificed a second time here, as Saberlight is going to sort of run him down, but the rest of the lineup, they want Envy. They need to get in onto that Sven. The dive bomb is going to come through for the stun, but they need a little bit more lockdown. They get it now with Moon coming in for another telekinesis, and Brile will finish the job with the damage. Meanwhile, on Husky watch, Saberlight does eventually track him down. Moon Meander TP'd in for the kill, and Undying will be able to take that fight, but it went on for quite some time.
And Envy wasn't able to kill his target. He wasn't able to stick on either supports, and even though the Ravage was there and the Ravage looked good, it came after the fact. You had no one that was there to break that initial grip onto Gunnar, and you saw him get shredded. It's still Refresher Razor. It's still two Eye of the Storms going on at the same time. You need to respect that. And even though you kill him, he tanked so many spells. He tanked all of the aggression coming in from the Sven. And you don't even have Scotty or anything in the works of it coming on Morphling. And you're able to kite the Sven this well this early on. It's not a good sign from Force Zoomers. I thought it was a little bit crazy for them to smoke up with 30 seconds on Ravage. And even though it felt like they were able to turn for a second there, they were just playing at a disadvantage that I really don't think they needed to force. There was no Roche. There was no lane getting pushed in. There's no tier 3 tower under siege. They just smoke into the enemy team's smoke. I really think they didn't need to push that.
Right, and even with that being the case, you saw Moo get off a 4-man Ravage, but imagine if they waited that little bit longer. If that Ravage comes out a few seconds later because they start the fight later and you still hit that many heroes, that opens up so many opportunities for you. But mentioned at the time, I don't know if it was entirely intentional, but that was such a big play from Saberlight. Breaking that smoke, tricking your opponents into thinking that the illusion is real, that delays things just that little bit, so that 4 Zoomers kind of have to think twice about their initiation, and then the fight that they do end up going for is not beneficial for them as Z-Freak. That's just not fair. Dive bomb into Brile, hitting him up with that damage, and now they did get a stun onto Husky all the way under the tower. Moon Meander, with that stolen Stormhammer, can hit from just a ridiculous range, but too deep for Undying to really go for.
Yeah, and you have to be careful. This is pretty much the best spell Moon could ask for.
They'll go for this one, though. Envy's going to get hit up. No BKB, so they hit him now with the telekinesis as well. Brile, however, is kind of focusing on Gunnar. They might want to focus back in, try to bring down that Sven, but the Force Staffs are just pushing Envy away. He is going to be okay, so a little bit of split focus there, but Husky, I think he's going to end up paying the price for this one. He does try for the Sinister Gaze, but it's not going to be enough. But hey, you got your cores out of there, although as I say that, Moo is getting jumped in on the middle lane. They're going to hit him up with the telekinesis. Tomato's coming in with the damage. BKB up as well, so he doesn't have to care about any sort of slow or even damage reduction from something like the Anchor Smash. So Undying starting to feel a bit more confident, starting to rack up some of those kills. Tomato and Brile are really leading the way here, and 4 Zoomers, at least in that instance, didn't seem to have great answers. They were too split up across the map.
Yeah, and they continue to take these very split engagements. That was with Ravage coming up. That was with a lot of their tools still in the tank there. And Gunner, he just keeps having to Rolling Thunder so early on to bail out his teammates. And that's where Envy going for this build. It isn't a fantastic BKB game. I can definitely understand why he isn't going into that route. He's prioritizing instead getting this more damage-oriented build, but you're going to see them fall behind and playing into this Call of the Wild, into the Hawk. This is why teams value this Brewmaster or this Beastmaster so much. It feels impossible for them to move up, as well as every single time you get that dive bomb onto a support, Husky and Z-Freak are just feed. They are just another hero that's going to die. Neither of them can very naturally kill those Hawks either. It just feels like if Undying can continue to find these openings onto this squishy backline, there's no chance for Four Zoomers to take these fights, because now you're playing past the Pango's timing. You're playing past the time where Gunner, it feels like he can 1v5 4 heroes on your team. You're going to start seeing them really run out of damage and really rely on the Sven, and it's just not there right now. I think if this smoke doesn't work out, they're going to lose at least another outer tower, probably more. They really need to find something with this.
And the problem is, that's the exact scenario that we were sort of praising them for trying to avoid in the draft, putting up Pango and Tide with those first 2 picks on their own side. We were talking about how maybe they won't be entirely reliant on the Sven for the damage, for the initiation. They have these other cores that can maybe pick up the slack, but the play from Undying is forcing that situation to really knock the reality as Dubu. Not a whole lot he can do about that one. Envy's quick in for the kill. Dive Bomb, though, will stun him up, but at this point, no one's really in position to follow that one up. So it's just going to be Dubu going down, but Undying are kind of spreading out a little bit here, looking for a moment to jump in as they do catch Z-Freak. So they'll hit him up with the telekinesis. The dive bomb comes through as well. Saberlight wants the roar, not going to get it just yet. Now he'll pop the BKB, and at this point, Z-Freak, yeah, he is almost certainly going down here. One more hit should do him in as Moon Meander finishes off with the stolen concussion shot, or concussive shot rather, but that's just going to be a support trade-off. They need this play. Envy's going to get caught. Dual Scepter puts him up in the air. The Static Link's going to start to drain that away. Moon comes in, looking for the telekinesis, keeping Envy inside of that Static Link range, and Envy, there's just nothing he can do. He can't go anywhere. Another dive bomb comes in from Saberlight. Envy's able to buy out his Daedalus, I suppose, before he dies, but we are seeing the downside.
Oh, doesn't care.
Oh my god.
Not a care in the world. He's just playing in front of your tier 3 towers, which he claimed by himself. This is just becoming a massive issue for them. They're just not able to string together any successful team fights. Even though you killed Dubu at the beginning of that, you don't stick around long enough to get the play onto possibly the Rubik. You're just a little bit too afraid. And unfortunately, what we're seeing spell out right now is the team that can't afford to buy a BKB is playing versus a team that once they get BKBs, you can't fight them. And there are 3 BKBs on the side of Undying. It feels like this is going to continue to become a very big problem for them. It's all on Moo at this point. If he does not hit a 2 to 3 man Ravage on these cores, they cannot win these team fights. That is the eventuality that we've ended up at. It just feels very unfortunate. And look at Bryle. Not a care in the world. He's getting your melee racks.
He wants it. He's got the backup this time as well as Tomato's coming in, and Gunner's actually the one. He's got to get the hell out of there. Wow. Just wasn't able to get away, and he gave up the Rolling Thunder too. That's just a double whammy there as Moon Meander is able to take that one away. And Moon, I mean, you look at his build. He's got the Blink. He's got the Force Staff. And actually even the Psychic Headband, technically, if he wants to try and push himself or push an opponent a little bit. So he's got so much positional power now with a stolen Rolling Thunder that I'm not sure Four Zoomers can really afford to send anyone forward to defend this. They do put down the shield at least, so that is at least going to be somewhat helpful. But you see Bryle, again, this man does not care. He well and truly could not care less about anything that Four Zoomers are sending at him. He takes a tower, but Envy jumps in. Moo is there. Nice Ravage connecting onto everyone. This may have been their opening. Saberlight's going to get taken down. They're trying to fight their way through this, but Mooniander and Dubu are both dead. And Undying, they got to get out of here. There's a buyback on Saberlight, but by this point, Bryle and Tomato are trying to get away. But well, the bash goes through the BKB. Tomato's still in trouble, trying to buy some time with his Dual Scepter, but now Saberlight back in, drops the roar. Bryle's going to wait for him his way forward. Gunner's taken down, Moo falling as well. Envy now isolated from his teammates. The supports are trying to get back over to him, but they've just got to fall back, and that felt so unlikely from Undying. They sort of give up the first fight, but they're smart on the buyback. Saberlight knows, I still have my roar. If I can get back in and they overextend, we can very quickly turn this around, and now you see Undying, they're right back where they started on that opposing high ground.
And I think what they're really playing around here is they say, okay, Moon and Dubu, you definitely messed up, got a little bit too close, got clipped in that Ravage. I believe Moon, he wasn't actually clipped in the Ravage, but you got cleaved down by the Sven without God Strength, without anything. throw away the Aegis, not a care in the world. This is going to be Megas. There's no Pango. He's really the only core that can fight up that isn't cooldown reliant. And we're probably going to see the G's called pretty soon here, unless...
He got stunned up.
No,
there's the
don't
roar
think
into
it's
the
going to
Fiend's
matter.
grip, though. Yeah, Envy's just locked down, taken out. Moo's stunned up as well by a stolen Stormhammer. And, well, at this point, for Zoomers, yeah, running out of options, they will concede defeat. The G's will be dropped, and Undying will take game 1 of this best-of-3 series. Took them a little while to build up that strength, but once they got going, really, they just did not stop.
Yeah, and that's where for Zoomers, they should have an easier time. If they keep the ball rolling, if they keep the plays going, it feels like maybe they are able to play versus these timings, but Undying fits very simply. They bought 3 BKBs versus you. Your team is very heavy set into that magic damage, into your spells actually landing, and we got it. Moo got a 4-man Ravage. He absolutely hit everyone. Moon was not in time to steal the Ravage as well, even though he went forward to get that 4-staff. Then for Zoomers, they leave the high ground. They get kited out. I don't think Undying were ready for that, necessarily ready for that initiation that they gave them. For Zoomers, they all went to the low ground. They had the Yule Scepter onto the Razor. Triple buyback comes out from them. They're saying, what are you guys doing? Our Morphling still has Aegis. He still has gas in the tank. Bryle immediately kills someone. He kills off the Pango. And then for Zoomers are full retreat. But your full retreat, when you don't have God Strength, you don't have Ravage, and Undying have fully reset. I think Undying really pushed their every aspect of their draft, especially Dubu. I think he really held down the fort. I think he was successful in every avenue that in that early game for Zoomers was not. I think several times we saw for Zoomers attempt for the smoke, not able to make anything happen. They just felt like they were a little bit too behind the 8-ball there, and just those early game plays really set Undying up for victory. And as well as I want to say Moo played, it just wasn't enough. I was sitting looking at his KDA for so long. He was really just continuing to find the picks, continuing to finding those plays, but they weren't on the key targets. It never felt like really Tomato was ever under threat. I feel like he was always the aggressor. The Razor never felt scared in this game. And of course, you got last pick Razor. I wonder if 4 Zoomers are going to value that last pick. We saw that Undying had first priority in this game, so I wonder if they are going to switch something up in the draft. But unfortunately, you played versus a lineup that was a little bit harder for them to execute unless they got their items, and they got their items. So hopefully in this game too, 4 Zoomers can put up a little bit more aggression in that early game. No 0-3 at 15 minutes, because I think that's the style that they really like to play in.
Yeah, that one was maybe not slow, but certainly not fast either, and the kills that were happening, obviously were going against the 4 Zoomer side. So we mentioned that in the draft, that they may try to play up tempo a little bit more. It didn't really work out for them. Not because they tried and it didn't work, mostly because they weren't actually able to establish the pace that they wanted. So we'll see what changes they make heading into game number 2 if they do try to actually draft in a way that allows them to get that faster pace once again. So we are going to be moving into game 2 in just a little bit, though. Before we move into that commercial break, though, I do want to give you a word from our sponsor. We are starting off today with a word from LootBet. They have been providing us with the odds for all of these matches. So, excuse me. Thank you very much to LootBet. LootBet are also running a promotion for Pro Series 7 viewers. You can get a 100% bonus on your first deposit up to 200 euros using code PRO. That's PRO. You can go to bts.gg/lootbet or click on the banner down in the section underneath the video player to take advantage of that offer. So thank you very much to LootBet for providing the odds, sponsoring the event, just generally helping us put this show together. And as always, if you are looking to use that promo code for LootBet, please do remember to bet responsibly. So thank you very much to LootBet, and we will now be getting ready for that second game. Undying looked good in game 1. Can they pull off that 2-0 sweep to get into the grand final, or will we see 4 Zoomers fight their way back into it to tie us up at 1-1? We'll be finding out in just about 5 to 10, so stick around. We'll be bringing you game 2 in a little bit.